Hello everyone and welcome to a new season of Pitskill.io Porsche Cup races, this time with some added BMW M2 as it's now the Porsche Cup BMW M2 Multiclass. And right now we're in the middle of qualifying for the Porsche Cup class as Matthew Parry jumps to the top of the standings at 203.6. And it will be, first half of this session, the Porsche Cups get to go out, set their times, and then it will be the time of the BMW M2 TCX class. Get out there and get themselves a position on this grid tonight. As we take a look around our field, we've got quite a few returning names to the Porsche Cup. Robert Weibeck, currently out on circuit, sitting in P3, as jumping over him into P2 is returning title challenger, if yet to be winner, Johan Leff. Will this be his lucky championship? Remains to be seen. And with the previous champion of the championship, currently not. Oh, actually, nope, I do not see a Reece Tattersall out there. So, time for Johan Leff to get himself a healthy head start if he wants to start chasing down his first championship. Ever present in the Porsche Cups is also the Bulldozer GT in that distinctive white, green and red livery. With a strong showing so far, up in P4. Alexander Hrabchenko, a new driver to Pitskill, and has got himself his C-Class license, ready to be taking part in these Porsche Cup races, and already got himself up to a 2,365 Pitskill. That is impressive work in a short period of time, and definitely going to be a driver to watch as this championship goes on. Turning driver Felix Kotick, currently up in P3. As we approach towards the end of this Porsche Cup qualifying, ready to hand over to the TCXs. We have on the track together with Kotick is Hans Luger, another new driver to this series. We'll be looking to build up their pit skill over the course of this season. Currently setting some very good times during this session, so I would expect them to jump up in their pit skill as this season goes on. P8 is John Sawyer, another returning driver to these Porsche Cup races. And a Pitskill veteran is in P9, Sam McCarthy. Been driving here a long time and has taken part in I think all of the Porsche Cup series we've hosted so far. And just behind him in the standings, running a new livery colour, as he demonstrated yesterday in the Royal Rumble, is our series sponsor, Chris Wright. Some of you probably know him better as SimQuips. Only sitting in P10, followed by just a tenth of a second by Balazs Feher, driver pushing himself towards the 3,000 in Pitskill. Those of you who are new to Pitskill, the numbers and the letters you see in the bottom right of your screen, the A is for how safe this driver is, the letter for the safety, the number for the pace and the racing skill of the driver. And, well, that score there suggesting Balazs Feher perhaps a little bit out of position down there in P11. P12, we've got Tobias Bock, another new driver, 2 Pitskill Porsche Cups. And the pits currently is Florent de Moor with Justin Hoffman in P14 at the moment. With Tadeusz Kaczynski also in the pits, and Grzegorz Michalak, the driver who's been going strength to strength in these Porsche Cup races, finds himself down in P16 at the moment. And Jakob currently down at P17. As Matthew Parry currently sitting up in pole position at the moment, as we are approaching the halfway point of this qualifying session. I'm ready to hand over to our TCX cars. A few more Porsche Cups to take us through. Jordi Cano, another new driver to this Porsche Cup series. And finally, down in P24 is S. Martin. A whole range of experience in the Porsche Cups, a whole range of pit skills. So, going to be an interesting race as we approach that 8-minute mark in the qualifying session, and we'll start to see the BMW M2s heading out on track. And here they are. Which is my maths completely wrong. 9-minute mark is when they headed out. That's why they're already coming up to the final chicane. And, well, we do have one Porsche Cup car, that of Manuel Andrax. It's currently sat down in P30. Did not set a time. So we'll be having to start behind all of the BMW M2s. That is going to be a painful start for Andrax. As our drivers head into their first flying laps. See who is on a flying lap at the moment and who is furthest into it. Be, I think, Roland Schricker leading the way in the M2s. Another quick driver. You can see pushing on to 3,000 pit skill and going to be a real contender to take the TCX pole here. There are plenty of other quick drivers out there on circuit right now. As the sound of these BMWs is certainly a lot quieter than the roaring engine of the Porsche Cups. I had to quickly go check my my volume levels to make sure that I did actually have the volume turned up, and I do. These cars are just awfully quiet. Take a look through the rest of the field. Behind Roland is Andy Hudson, the only Boomers liveried car. Andy Hudson, one of our stewards here at Pitskill, and you can see S-ranked or S-class driver means he's nice and safe on track. So let's hope he can demonstrate that for us tonight. Next up on the track behind is Kevin Mulder, the Iron Brood livery car, looking to stretch themselves into the 2000s. Has yet to see a valid lap from any of our drivers. The first is there, and it's Andy Hudson who takes the provisional TCX pole away from Roland Stricker, with Mulder sitting in just a couple of tenths behind, as the time's being set thick and fast now, as Riva Molena crosses the line. A 2:22.5. There's Dominic Scholes, new driver to the Pitskill, is doing pretty well there with a 2:21.4. Not too far off the pace, plenty of time to continue to improve. As a driver who's taken part in a few of our seasons here at Pitskill now, Svoboda, a rapid driver who seems to have swinging fortunes in some of their races, it must be said, but has been a solid shower in most of the Porsche Cup races. And sitting in E2 in the TCXs at the moment is Alessandro Giovanni, currently with a 2:19.955. Only 3 drivers getting below 2:20 in the TCXs, with only Andy Hudson getting it into the 2:18s, showing his pace in these cars. As we pick up Adam Vatusa in the Ducati Corsa. I thought that was pizza on his car. It is pizza. There we go. That should be a very easy livery to spot out there on track. Those of you who are new to Pitskill, do make sure you download the PitSync app. It will automatically download all the liveries for any race you participate in, so you can marvel in the weird, but mostly wonderful creations of your fellow drivers. Who else is out there on track at the moment? Christian Romby, currently on a 2:21.0, needs to find just about half a tenth to get them into the 2:20s. As Matthias Peltzer, turning driver to this series, and has opted for the TCX this time around. Good to see that this is a popular class amongst our drivers. It looks like we have an almost 50-50 split between the two classes, so it's going to be a very interesting race, and it'll be interesting to see how these drivers deal with the inevitable traffic. Still a number of drivers who have yet to set a valid lap time, as Romby disappearing off onto the gravel there. That won't be doing his lap time any good. Let's see who is improving at the moment. Kevin Mulder going quicker in that Golf Iron Brew Racing livery car. Brings it round the spoon curves onto the long back straight here at Suzuka. Really want in these cars a tow, at least a distant tow down this long back straight. I think he may have had one on the last lap, as he's just dropping a little bit of time as he comes down the straight and into 130R. Just the final chicane to go. So is Mulder going to start to challenge the cars ahead of him? It's a good exit from the final chicane. And short run down to the start finish line. Should have enough time to have another lap as Mulder crosses the line, breaks the beam. Should be good enough to get him into P3 in the TCX class. As Jentel van Thailand rounding the final corner. Currently without a time on the board. Needs to set a time here. As he crosses the line, goes P2 or what? 2:18.8. So a lap from Van Vylen. As we're getting a number of drivers now getting a lap on the board, as Alex Kessler is the first driver to see the checkered flag. So into P35, and that is P12 or so in class. I don't know. It's hard to see what the class numbers are. Shouldn't have committed myself to that. And I think the final driver who will get a time on the board will be Finn Fetke, as he crosses the line up into P38. And what we will have Antrax and Don starting from the back of the grid. There's just a few drivers looking to improve their times at the moment. One of those is Marco Lorenzo. Lorenzo getting a distant tow from Schricker. Oh no, I think that's Molinar ahead. And that will be ever so useful as he comes out of the second of the spoon curves on that long run down towards 130R. Just about keeping it within track limits and is now right in that slipstream. So it doesn't look like Molinar's going to have enough to improve on this lap. Currently 2 tenths down. But Lorenzo has invalidated their lap, so will not see an improvement. As Romby, rounding the final couple of corners, will probably be the last of the drivers with a possibility to improve over their previous best. As Romby runs down towards the line. Finds 4 tenths, moves up a couple of positions ahead of Jay and Svoboda. And that sets our grid for tonight. And while we wait for our drivers to get themselves set up, I will run you through the format for this race tonight. So we will have a 30-minute race, no pit stops, so it's a straight sprint from lights to flag, and it will be Matthew Parry and Johan Leff who will be forming up on the front row of the grid. And then at the front of the TCX field will be Andy Hudson and Jentel Van Vylen. And with just a minute to go, let's go and have a look at our starting grid for tonight's race. And so you can see Matthew Parry is the martini coloured car there. You can see starting on pole position with a left alongside. This track not giving us the best of camera angles, unfortunately, to go through the liveries and the cars we have for tonight, so we may have to wait until they pull away. But we can at least have a good look at the number of cars we have got on this grid tonight. 43 cars with Manuel Antrax starting from the pit lane, being the faster car qualifying behind the slower cars, thinking it is safer to start from the pits rather than directly behind the pack of TCXs. So we go through our order. We have got Matthew Parry as our pole sitter, followed by Johan Leff, John Sawyer, Felix Kotick, Robert Weibeck, Alexander Hrabchenko, Luke Tranmer. And behind we have got Busso, will be starting in P8, with Hans Luger in P9. That's right, out of position on this formation lap, we'll be starting this race in P10 with Sam McCarthy being jumped at the end of the session. We'll be starting in P11. Raj here in the fake Subaru will be starting in P12 with Christian Fager in P13. Tobias Bock will be starting in P14 with Florent Demore in P15. Behind them is Justin Hoffman, and still in the Rexseed liveried Porsche Cup car is Tadeusz Zazinski. Gregor Michalak in that familiar purple is in P18 with Jakob behind in P19. Meyer van Dijk, or Milky to his friends, is in P20 with S. Martin in P21. Jordi Cano in P22 with Slavek Klinger in P23. We turn our attention to our TCX runners. In TCX pole position will be Andy Hudson, followed by, it says here on my timing, it's Roland Schricker. I thought it was Jentel van Veylen, but apparently Roland Schricker ahead. Jentel van Veylen in P3, Kevin Mulder in P4, we have Alessandro Giovanni in P28, and then will be Matthias Peltzer, Adam Vatusa, Christian Romby, Michael J, Dominic Scholes, Marco Lorenzon, Alex Kieser, Finn Fedke, Riva Molinar, Sam Blunden, Rio Tsukioshi, Engindon, and starting in the pits will be Nitro, Zaboda and Antrax. As we return our attention to the front of the field as the cars line up 2 by 2, ready and waiting for the green flag to signal the start of this race. Try and keep our eye on front of the field, but I'm sure there's going to be action throughout. As we wait for the lights to turn green, the rest of the TCX pack forms its way around the final corner. Last of the cars coming into view, and we have the green flag waving, and Matthew Parry holding on up the inside as Johan Leff holding on to P2. As coming into the first corner at the front of the TCX field, Jentel van Veylen trying to go up the inside of Andy Hudson. Trying to see there, did Hudson manage to hold on to his lead? He does, and is actually, oh, what on earth happened there? So we're checking here with Tadeusz Zazinski. It looked like Balazs Faye here was the first to go round, and wow, we have got a little bit of carnage in the middle of the pack, and I think that has shuffled up at least the TCX order. So a lot going on at the start as Sam McCarthy gets his way past Luger. Nice. Up at the front of the field. Johan left. Continuing to chase Matthew Parry with Felix Kotick, Ramchenko, Sawyer, Busso, Weidbeck, Tranmer right, all exceptionally close together. We've got a driver off the track, Luke Tranmer, under pressure from Chris Wright, going on the attack against Robert Weidbeck ahead. As we turn our attention to the TCX field, Jentel Van Veylen currently leading the way there, ahead of Matthias Peltzer, who has got a train of cars behind him. That train includes Kevin Mulder, Roland Stricker, Andy Hudson, and Giovanni. Plenty of battling going on as Felix Kotick is tumbling down the order. What has happened to Kotick? Going through the chicane. Ooh, just a little bit of oversteer and off onto the gravel. And with the pack so close together, that has cost him a number of positions. Gets himself safely back onto the circuit. But that is not what he wants at the start of his race. We've got close battling between Sam McCarthy and Chris Wright over P8 in this race. Yellow flags out for Christian Fager. And down in TCX land, Roland Stricker under pressure from both Kevin Mulder and Andy Hudson. Now Hudson and Mulder side by side as we go through the S's, and that is the Porsche Cup of Balazs Feher trying to carve his way through the TCX field as well. TCXs need to be aware there might be some cars trying to fight their way back through after early race incidents. Plenty going on in the middle of this pack. There's action just about any way you want to look. As this recovery drive of some of these Porsche Cup cars is going to be providing some opportunities potentially to some of these TCX cars as they look to take advantage of the faster car putting their opponents out of position into the corners. There's still two-way battle out in front of this race. Matthew Parry leading ahead of Johan Lef as they come around to start the third lap of this race. Lef tucked up into that slipstream. These two have been race win contenders throughout previous seasons of the Porsche Cups. And their pace and determination continuing into this multi-class battle. With this battle continuing over P1, there is also a battle over P3 in this race. The final podium slot yet decided as Alexander Kravchenko holds on in front of Sawyer, Busso, Weidbeck and Tranmer. And Sam McCarthy also finding himself under pressure from Chris Wright. Right, looking all over the back of the car of McCarthy and Luger, keeping them company as well. As Chris Wright looking to the inside of McCarthy. And this is opening the door for Luger here, who's going on the offensive against Chris Wright, has got his car well alongside. And if you can hold that inside line, it could be move made for Luger up into P9 in this race. Chris Wright, who was looking like he was on the offensive, now dropping back into P10 and giving Sam McCarthy a little bit of breathing room. And as Van Veylen checking out a little bit in the lead of the TCX class, Matthias Peltzer is getting attacked by Roland Stricker and Andy Hudson. Andy Hudson, who got caught up in that Sector 1, Lap 1 shenanigans with the crashing Porsche Cups, is now on a recovery drive. And is in the slipstream behind Roland Schricker. And he's also carving his way through the field now is Manuel Antrax, who started this race from the pit lane and is now having to battle his way through this TCX field before he even gets a chance to start attacking the rest of the Porsche Cups. Really not the race he would have wanted tonight, unless he just likes bullying slow cars. Who knows? So, Antrax through the majority of the TCX field, now just has to go and chase after the TCX leader, into Van Thailand. And we've also got a bit of battling further back in the TCX grid, as Engin Don leads, or did lead, Fedka, who's now, yellow flags out for Fedka. What's happened here? Going down into 130R. Oh, a little bit of front bumper to rear bumper contact there, and that is Fedka into the barriers. As we've got yellow flags out for Felix Kotick. Seems to be the time for incidents now, or as Kotick trying to recover the car from the off track. There's a little bit too much room there, and sees him spinning out onto the dirt. Is being careful in rejoining the circuit. Sensibly played there from Kotick, not to get in anyone else's way. As the battle for P2 in the TCXs continues. Kais Peltzer now leading Andy Hudson and Roland Schricker. Hudson getting that move made on Schricker, and now looking like he's going to get the move made on Peltzer as well, as Peltzer runs wide, but Roland Schricker looking up the inside of Andy Hudson. They almost go 3 wide into the hairpin. Andy Hudson trying to carry speed around the outside. Looks like he's managed to hold on there. Roland Schricker being very respectful, giving plenty of space, has allowed Hudson to get that run out of the corner, and looking like Andy Hudson with the inside line. Going to have the better run into Spoon Curve. Will Schricker be able to get himself up alongside enough to was afforded the space there by Andy Hudson? Respectfully done, has allowed Schricker to come back at him, as a little bit of contact sends Andy Hudson wide, but gives him the better run now onto the back straight, as Kevin Mulder is now getting involved in this battle, getting up past Matthias Peltzer. Good run out of the second of the Spoon Curves in the slipstream now behind Roland Schricker. This is a 5-way battle over P2 in the TCX class. Well, everything's happening here down in these TCX cars. Such a good raceable cars, these. People tend not to drive them because they're low on power, low on downforce. But if you're looking for a car that you can race wheel to wheel, get nice and close with your competitors and take advantage out of that slipstream, well recommend getting into these BMW M2s. And, well, it's not only action in the TCX field, as well, sometimes we do have to give our ears a little bit of Porsche glory, as Busso currently running P5 in the overall standings and is ahead of Robert Weidbach and Luke Tranmer. As Tranmer having a look over the back of Robert Weidbach, not close enough and not mad enough to have a go into 130R. As they head into the chicane, Weidbach all over the back of Busso. Might have an opportunity to get into the slipstream as they come down the start-finish straight. And Robert Weidbach extremely close to the back of Busso. Don't think he's close enough to have a look at the moment. Would have to be brave on the brakes into turn 1. It's not a heavy braking zone here at Suzuka. As they head into the S's of the first sector. Busso holding on to P5. As up at the front of the field, Matthew Parry still holding on well in front of Johan Leff. That's gap just at half a second, as it has been for most of this race. Johan Leff not letting this one go, and still just under 19 minutes remaining of this race. Plenty of time for Johan left to try and find an opportunity to get by. As yet again, yellow flags out again for Felix Kotick. I think he's spending more time in the gravel than he is actually on the track in this race. He's up and running again in P17. As Martin, also under pressure from Fager and Feyher behind. And there's got a lot to contend with two rapid drivers on their tail. As we head into the hairpin. Martin, oh, just a snap of oversteer. The rear end getting away from them, and that has allowed Christian Fager up into P18. And next to be biting at the heels of Martin will be Feyher in that fake Subaru. Feyher. Well, the team name is Big Wide Train, but I think Balázs Feyher currently having to make their way forward further into this pack if they want to be heading up a train. You usually see Feyher holding on and defending for their life in these races, but it's going to have to go on the offense if they want to make something out of this one. As Andy Hudson is now at the front of, well, is now the front of this small TCX pack, but in P2 in the TCXs. And now some clean air to try and close down that gap to Jentel van Thuylen. Not sure if Hudson is carrying damage from that early incident in this race. As they wind their way through the second sector and into Spoon Curve. And we've got a out of position Porsche Cup trying to carve their way through as well. That of a Nitro. And having dropped back from this pack, Matthias Peltzer is, well, doing the job of Balázs Feyher and leading a train of BMWs down the back straight. He is being chased down by Vatusa, Giovanni, Rombi, Jay and Lorenzon. This is the battle for P5 in the TCX class. As we've got positions changing all the while in this pack behind. I was able to take advantage of the slipstream they're getting from the cars ahead and move their way by. As Christian Fager and Balázs Feyher are continuing to carve their way through. The cars are lower down in this Porsche Cup pack, and themselves up to somewhere competitive in this race, currently running down in P17 and 18. Formation flying at the moment as they pick their way through from the slower drivers. As up at the front of the field, Johan Leff, closer than he has been in a while, looking for a move in unconventional places on the racetrack. It would be a bold, if slightly suicidal man to try and put a nose alongside in the S's. Patience the better part of valour here. As, oh, we've got a big incident. As, what has happened here? See what car initiated this one. I don't think it was Alexander Rabchenko too far back. It must have been one of the Porsche Cups. This of Jakob. Oh, just getting caught out by one of the TCX cars, and that has caused an almighty mess. The lead of this Porsche Cup race, and what was looking like a fantastic race for Matthew Parry has ended up in absolute carnage, as Johan Leff now with a comfortable 4.5 second lead over P2 driver John Sawyer, who is now being chased down by Busso. But yeah, I don't think anyone could have predicted they would have driven into that sort of a mess coming through the top of the S's. As Matthew Parry having to return to the pit lane now, down in P24 after leading so much of this race. As Andy Hudson still being chased by Roland Stricker, have just managed to pull a little bit of a gap over Kevin Mulder, who has got Maya Van Dijk company. Maya Van Dijk in the Porsche Cup should be able to get by pretty easily, though the S's here at Suzuka, not the easiest place in the world to do that, as we did see through this section of track, as our race leader also trying to get by. And I think Johan Leff will be being exceptionally careful when navigating this back marker traffic. As Chris Murray makes his way past Alexander Shrabchenko, who, let us not forget that Shrabchenko was caught up in that earlier incident with the back markers and has got severe damage to the front of that car. And, well, unfortunately, these collisions won't be doing his pit rep much help either. And, well, might need to wait a little longer to get out of the C class and up into the B class. Slovak Klinger holding on against Felix Kotick. Kotick, who's managed to keep himself on the black stuff for a while now, and is trying to carve his way back through the field after a few earlier off tracks. As what? I look away for 1 second at my timing tower, and Felix Kotick has another incident. What is so hard about staying on the track, Felix? It's a little bit too much right foot, and Felix Kotick is into the wall. John Sawyer, after being fortuitously promoted to P2, is continuing to hold on against Busso. These three looking pretty nailed on for the final two podium positions in tonight's race. Although saying that, there is just over 10 minutes remaining and plenty of traffic for them to navigate in that time, so let's not say nailed on quite yet. But they're in a comfortable position, some 4 seconds ahead of Luke Tranmer. Well, the big battle in the Porsche Cup pack is over P8, with Bock being followed by Hoffman, Szynski, McCarthy and De Moore. There's yellow flags out for Maya Van Dijk pointing the wrong way. What has happened to that? Oh, a little bit too eager on the right boot again. It's catching out a lot of drivers here at the hairpin. The Porsche Cup car, a Larry beast at the best of times. And, well, Maya Van Dijk still unable to find a gap to proceed back onto the circuit with it, but Justin Hoffman fallen back a little way from Bock, but is now being chased by Tadej Szynski, who did well to keep hold of the car there, coming around the second of the spoon curves, nearly washing wide into the TCX, but is a man on a mission chasing after Justin Hoffman, as many cars head their way into 130R side by side, and not the place on the circuit where you want to be trying to overtake. But with competitors so close behind them, these Porsche Cups not being given much alternative other than to try and make a risky move through what's one of the fastest corners on this race circuit as Tadeusz Suzuki weaves side to side, trying to get in the mirrors of Hoffman. You need to be careful not to do that with cars too close behind him, as that could be seen as blocking. But Tadeusz Suzuki up into a 9th position, getting himself well past Hoffman. And Christian Feger, winding his way through more cars as Balázs Feher getting his fake Subaru to do what a real Subaru does considerably better, and four-wheel drifting out on the gravel. And well, maybe that livery helping him save that slide. Balázs Feher is being gapped a little by Christian Feger, but not by too much. As Alexander Kravchenko is having a horrid time out there now after that horrible incident. Doesn't seem to have much straight line speed, and I imagine has got some suspension damage as well. It's a hefty hit, and they are dropping like a stone down the field as the pack behind getting caught out in some of the TCX traffic, as that is Kevin Mulder there. He forerunner in the BMWs, as we've got an absolutely extraordinary amount of traffic in this section of the track, as Hoffman continues to hold on ahead of McCarthy and Kravchenko, who's now dropped to P11. Doing an admirable job trying to hold on with that damage, but the inevitable just slowly coming towards them. The next gap back for them will be Florent Demour, some 1.6 seconds behind. As we head into the first corner yet again, it is Suzuki ahead of Bock, Hoffman and McCarthy. It's the battle over P7 in this race. And Tadeusz Suzuki, now he's at the head of this pack, is pulling a slight gap over Bock behind, who is probably paying a little bit more attention to his mirrors, with Justin Hoffman just 0.3 seconds behind. And looking like he's on the offensive at the moment. With the drivers he's racing against, Tobias Bock should get a decent haul of pit skill from this race, with some fast drivers in and amongst his position on track. And this is the closest battle we have on track at the moment. The battle for P7. We also have Grzegorz Michalak defending from Balázs Feher, recovered from his excursions into the gravel. Is now back on the offensive. First needs to make his way past the TCX of Andy Hudson, currently running P2 in that class. Now Feher in the slipstream. And this pair will be rapidly closing in on Alexander Kravchenko as well. We're down in P13. We also have side-by-side battling between Justin Hoffman, Sam McCarthy. Sam McCarthy going to have to be careful here, being boxed in slightly by the TCX. They're side-by-side heading into the first corner, and Sam McCarthy carrying the speed through, but it's Justin Hoffman with the inside line, defending it well. Hoffman holding on to that P9. As Sam McCarthy gets his nose ahead for the briefest of moments, but been shuffled back into P10. Hoffman Needs to keep up this defence for another 4 minutes of this race. And Sam McCarthy, battling hard here, wants that position. As Michalak and Fahir catching on to Hrabchenko at a rate of knots now. That car of Hrabchenko is not looking well. I think he's just trying to nurse it to the finish line now. I'm not sure if these two are aware of the damage that Hrabchenko is carrying. He tries to keep control of that car. This could pose an opportunity to Fahir behind if... Oh, Michalak can't get by, and Michalak, well, taking to the dirt himself. Not sure quite what happened there. But that has allowed Fahir ahead, and Michalak dropping back from Hrabchenko now might just be a little bit of good luck that Hrabchenko was waiting for. Again, side by side, Hoffman and McCarthy, as McCarthy tries to hold on to the inside line around 130R. A bold move to try and go for, as Sam McCarthy is looking for every possible opportunity. Oh, as Justin Hoffman losing the rear of the car through the chicane, and Sam McCarthy getting collected as Hoffman rejoins the circuit behind McCarthy. Unfortunate slide there, and in that instance just going to allow Balazs Fahir through up into E12. So Hoffman losing out quite a bit from that overeager throttle application. As we still have a battle over P2 in the overall standings. There's John Sawyer being chased down by Busso. We'll have just one more lap of this race remaining. As Johan left, just 10 seconds further up the road from these two. We'll be heading on to the final lap very shortly. As Sam McCarthy with the slightly damaged car being chased by Balazs Fahir, also with a slightly damaged car. And looking like no advantage to either with the damage they're both carrying. As Justin Hoffman sits in the background. As we take this battle on to the final lap of the race with just 10 seconds to go. John Sawyer is under as much pressure as he has been this whole stint. Also now just 0.2 seconds back and on a charge, absolutely throwing it into the Degners. As John Sawyer has a snap of oversteer, could this compromise him down into the run, into the chicane? As Busso looking up the inside, Sawyer deep on the brakes, overshoots the apex, and that allows Busso to take the inside line, but John Sawyer's going to have a good exit. Managed to get on the throttle earlier than Busso as they drag race down towards Spoon Curve. It's going to be door to door as they come into the braking zone. And Busso with the inside line, John Sawyer fighting the rear of that car into Spoon Curve, and ultimately that is what allows Busso through into P2. We've got the yellow flags out for Christian Fager and Florent de Moor. We can't pay attention to that just yet, as Johan left coming around the final corner to take what will be a I guess, a slightly fortuitous victory after the incident that saw his race. Well, take the race leader out of this race was Matthew Parry, who unfortunately got caught up in that back marker incident. But let's not take it away from Johan Leff. A well-controlled race, did well to pick his way through the carnage and take that win with a Busso. A well-fought P2 in the end, ahead of John Sawyer, who just lost out in that final lap. And P4 will be Luke Tranmer, followed by Chris Wright, with a return to form, P5. Robert Weiber in P6. And Tadeusz Szynski, after a little bit of carnage earlier in the race, finishing P7. P8 goes to Tobias Bock, with Sam McCarthy holding on ahead of Balazsfér here for P9. Balazsfér here bringing it home in P10, with Florent Demore in... Sorry, Hoffman in P11, with Demore in P12. As coming around the final corner now is our leader of the TCX class. Winner in the TCXs is Jentel van Thailen. He will be followed shortly by Andy Hudson, who will take P2 in the M2s. Well fought by Roland Stricker, hanging on the coattails of Hudson until the very end. And finishing P4 will be Kevin Mulder in the Golf Iron Brew Racing M2. P5 in the M2s goes to Matthias Peltzer, with Giovanni taking P6. And Marco Lorenzo taking P7. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. That was a quite the race, and those TCX cars have certainly added a lot to these races. Going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out, especially with Suzuka being one of the widest tracks and one of the most regular tracks for this sort of endurance multi-class style racing. Will be interesting to see how this multi-class battling takes itself to some of the narrower tracks on our calendar. But all remains me to say is thank you very much for watching. If you are interested in taking part in these races, just need to head on over to pitskill.io. You can find a link in the description of this video. Sign up there, get yourself into some of their daily and double dash races, get yourself your C-Class license, and you can jump into these races with some of the drivers you've seen tonight. And if you've enjoyed our broadcast tonight, please do consider liking and subscribing. It does help us out. And we will be back next Monday for round 2 of the Porsche Cup BMW M2 Multiclass. Until next time, good night.